Should I go ahead and get started? Oh, look, it says live. All right, so that means get it started. Oh, no,
Live,
hell
baby.
no, man. Y'all done up and done it. Oh, no, hell no, man. Y'all done up and done it. Oh, no, hell no, man. Y'all done up and done it, man. Y'all done up and done it, man. Y'all, oh! Yo! We hype it here. We hype it here, bringing big energy. I had to start off with the Nappy Roots. Shout out to them, multi-platinum rap artists, because right now I'm literally in their house, in their brew house. If y'all can't see us, I don't know which way it is, but we are at Atlantucky Brewing in Atlanta, Georgia, broadcasting live as part of Craft Beer Con 2022. Yo, shout out to Scales and Skinny for allowing me to be in your house, man. The hospitality down here has been insane. I can't wait to go back to the DMV, take this back, report back, because this is the black beer mecca, right? For anybody that got something to say about it, don't add me. Atlanta is killing it. The camaraderie, the beer, the food, the hospitality, it's all love, man. So without further ado, my name is Sean Taylor. I am the CVO of Black Viking Brewing. That is the Chief Visionary Officer. I'm also the co-founder and co-owner. We're based out of Montgomery County, Maryland. And yeah, we're here to talk about the power of storytelling, or how storytelling is your ultimate superpower. Not your only superpower, but it's the ultimate superpower in separating you from the competition. I shouldn't even say competition, to other people that are in this beer industry. And so, real quick, y'all see that I started off with a battle cry. Every Thursday I do Black Viking TV, where I, get the ooh, and then people go crazy because the energy is crazy. I'm gonna throw somebody $10 right now in your Cash App. If you can get from behind the wherever you're doing, jump on camera, unmute yourself, and do a ooh. For the first person that does that, feel free to jump in. I can't see if anybody's watching right now, but yeah, you want $10 so you can go get you some lunch real quick or grab a beer. Anybody that's gonna do the ooh, please jump out there. We need the energy. We need the energy. So we got an hour. And like I was just telling my man Lennox, shout out to the Lennox from High Gravity Brewing. We can make this the whole 60 minutes, or we can make it shorter. It's all about the energy y'all putting out there, because y'all see I'm obviously coming with it. And so without further ado, let's get to it. Like I said, my name is Sean Taylor. I'm the co-founder, co-owner, and the chief visionary officer for Black Viking Brewing, Montgomery County, Maryland's first and only Black-owned beer company. And to tell you a story, so how did we get started? So I knew maybe from like a decade ago that I wanted to get into the craft beer game. Started going to a lot of different bottle shops, reading up on the internet and stuff. And I quickly found out that there weren't a lot of Black people in craft beer at that time, right? So I said, you know what? Let me jump into the game. Bought my equipment, did my homebrew stuff, much to my wife's chagrin. And the beer turned out pretty good. But you know what? I hated the process. I was like, this is terrible, right? Like, I don't like cooking. I'm not good at chemistry. I failed that joint for the most part, right? So I'm not going to do it. Put my brew stuff on the shelf and just started building community, because that's something that I'm very passionate about, and I think I'm pretty good at it, right? So fast forward a couple years ago, and one of my former players, I used to coach basketball, hits me up. He's like, hey, coach, I see you on Instagram, Facebook, doing stuff, building community in the beer game. Like, I brew beer. What's up? And I'm like, first of all, how you calling me coach, man? It was a long time ago. You got to be like 30 years old, right? And so he's like, nah, you forever coach, it's respect and all that. I'm like, cool. I'm like, but you don't brew no beer. Just kind of give him a hard time. He's like, bro, I brew beer. I'll bring it to your house tomorrow. I'm like, oh, shoot. Maybe he does brew beer because he got a lot of confidence. So he pulls up, brings me a bunch of different beers. We catch up because we haven't seen each other in probably about 8-9 years. And I'm like, okay. So I start trying his beers. I'm like, man, these beers are amazing, right? But it's this one beer in particular that stood out, and it's a beer brew with honey and ginger. I was like, yo, that's it. So let's meet. We sit down, we talk. Like, I'm like, what you want to do, Jamil? He like, yo, I think we should start a business. I brew, you talk your talk, whatever. I'm like, all right, bet. So you have any names in mind for this? And he's like, Black Viking. And I'm like, Black Viking? Nah, I don't really like that. Sound corny, man. I'm not feeling that. Ain't no Black Vikings, man. What you talking about? He's like, man, go home, sleep on it, then let's reconvene, right? So I go home, I tell my wife, she's like, Sean, Black Viking, that name is hard. Like, what are you talking about? You never seen a Black Viking? I'm telling my homeboys, they're like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, Black Viking, that name is hard. Like, yo, you gotta go with that, right? So I'm like, let me do some Googles first. Let me do my Googles. So I start Googling Black Viking, and the only thing that's popping up is Idris Elba off Thor, which I know some of the ladies probably like that, but I'm like, okay, so it ain't really no Black Vikings like that. Like, let's do it. So we run with the name Black Viking. About a year and a half later, we come out with our flagship beer, that Zinga beer. Oh my God, that label is beautiful. I don't know if I'm pointing at the. There we go. Our Zinga beer, our golden ale brewed with ginger and wildflower honey, and it's been selling well for us to the tune of we are now the DMV's most widely distributed Black-owned beer. Like, and we doing it. Shout out to all my DMV Black-owned breweries and beer brands as well. But we out there doing it. Talk your talk, ST. So look, I just told you a story, right, about how we got started. And so most people, they like, I don't brew beer. I'm very clear about that. Jamil brews beer. We have some other brewers that brew beer. I don't brew beer, but our beer is selling very well. And so one of the biggest questions I get is, how are you guys selling so well? Like, what, what's the secret? And I'm like, bro, if you go into any, or sis, if you go into any good bottle shop, they got 800 to 1,200 different beers on the shelf. 15 to 20 to 30 to 40 different taps. So what's going to make them drink your beer? What would make somebody want to pick out your beer? No one's going to read all of the descriptions. No one's going to Hey, V Ward, what's going on, V Ward? V Ward always taps in for Black Viking TV. Shout out to her. She's doing big things. But yeah, what's going to separate you? What's going to differentiate you, right? There's a lot of people making great beer. There's a lot of Facebook users say amazing, interesting how the beer tastes. Hey, look, you got to come out to the DMV. Come holla at us. We're not nationally distributed just yet. Unless you're already in the DMV, then check our website. It got all our locations on there. And so, yeah, you have to be able to differentiate yourself. And that comes through storytelling. And I know it may seem like, what do you mean storytelling? Like bedtime story and all? Like, no, I'm talking about telling the story of who you are on a personal level and who your company is and what you all represent. What does your brand represent, right? And so that is the way that you differentiate yourself and separate from the crowd. And I say it's your ultimate superpower because no one has your story. No one has my story, right? We're all different. So that's kind of the reason why I wanted to, that's the reason why I wanted to really talk about storytelling and help you hone your story, not your mission. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but what's your actual story, right? So I gave y'all the story of our brand. If anyone wants to unmute themselves or drop it in chat, the story of how they got started into the craft beer game, whether you're an influencer, you're a brewer, you're a marketer, whatever it may be, tap room manager, drop it in the chat. Let's make it fun. Let's share information, right? And so where are some places that you can look to tell your story, right? Because your packaging and your label and all that tells a story, and we'll get into that a little bit later, right? But social media, that's somewhere where you can go and tell your story, right? You can really curate the experience that people are getting when they interact with your social media page, right? Cold calls, right? So you actually go with your sell sheet. That's a one-sheeter that tells about the beer that you're trying to sell. You go to the account, whoever that is, the manager, and you say, yo, I'm trying to sell some beer. This is what we got. Here's our story. Here's who I am. And here is what we're selling. Here's what we're about, right? But also face-to-face tastings and different events, farmers markets, things like that. Those things are invaluable in getting in front of people, but also really telling your story, because you want to, of course, like create consumers, but in the long run, for your brand to be very successful, you want to generate word of mouth buzz, right? So word of mouth buzz, if people keep talking about it, then that ultimately like evangelizes people, right? And they preaching the gospel of your beer, right? Or your tap room or your restaurant or whatever it may be, right? So you got social media, you got face-to-face interactions, also earned media if you can get on Fox 5 or WSA 9 or whatever it may be, CNN, NBC, then those are some great ways to tell your story, okay? And so I know I've said a lot right there. Let's actually take a step back, because you may be saying, well, how do I know what my story is? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, right? So there's a great book called Start with the Why by Simon Sinek. I love this author. I highly recommend that you check it out. But in the book, the author, Mr. Sinek, talks very explicitly about the greatest companies, the most successful people. Like, they all have a why. Start with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing, right? And we all heard that from the time we was little kids, right? So, like, if your why is to just simply make a lot of money, it's going to be hard for you to compete with someone who is truly passionate about what they're doing, truly passionate about making the best beer, giving people the best tap room experience, having the best packaging, quality control, et cetera, right? And so for me, with my why, like I said, and real quick, you should have a personal why that aligns with your business's why, right? It should all be in alignment to have the greatest impact, right? And so my personal why is I love building community. I love the craft beer industry, the craft beer game. I love talking and yelling and doing all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I genuinely love connecting with people. And I feel like beer is a great conduit to bring people together. And so even with our beer, you know, when Jamil and I were sitting down talking about what beer did we release first, did we release 3 or 4 beers? We said, no, we want to release a beer that is highly drinkable. People would say crushable in the industry, right? But drinkable, that has a great flavor profile, has a moderate ABV, and is at a great price point. So that way it can be shared with as many people as possible. Because trust me, I love all the designer beers, so to speak, the designer craft beers. So like a s'more stout or like a imperial IPA, oat cream IPA. I love that stuff, right? But those things are very niche in the overall beer market, right? So it's like you're only going to hit a certain number of people that are going to enjoy that style, but also going to spend $20, $22, $25 on that 4-pack of pints, right? Excuse me. Or spend $15 to $20 on a nice bomber bottle of beer, right? That's just, so it's going to limit the amount of people that you're able to connect with. And so that's why we had a very tangible, like a very clear vision on the type of beer that we wanted to release, and it's selling very well for us, right? So that's my personal why. I love building community. I love tapping into the culture. I love building with people, et cetera, right? As far as our business, our mission statement is, what's up, Joel? We got a very talented brewer over here, Joel, with Atlanta, Kentucky, doing big things. Joel, come say what's up to the people, man. Told you we have fun out here, man. Joe.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Hey, doing big things out here, man.
Hey, it's Samira, bro. Talented motherfucker right here. Right here.
I appreciate you, bro.
Part of my friends.
Now, you good, man. We all over 21 over here, right? Especially drinking beer. So, yeah, shout out to Joel, man. Like I said, Atlanta's been lovely. But as far as our business, why, right, is yes, of course, we want to make money. We want to sell a lot of beer, right? But this is what leads like starting with your personal why and then understanding your business strategy leads you into your business why and your mission statement, right? And for us, our mission statement at Black Viking is to create a diverse community of beer lovers where everyone is welcome and where the warrior spirit is celebrated one brew at a time. I'm going to repeat that one more time for y'all. At Black Viking Brewing, our mission is to create a diverse community of beer drinkers where everyone is welcome and where the warrior spirit is celebrated one brew at a time. That don't give me goosebumps. I'm a bald head, man. That's a very well thought out mission statement, if I have to say so myself, right? But it really speaks to what we are trying to accomplish, right? We're not trying to be the hottest brewery. We're not trying to make the most off the wall beers. There's nothing wrong with that at all. We, like in our mission statement, and we're a mission driven company, are speaking to bringing people together, right? So to me, that's very clear. That's the North Star, right? That keeps us on brand, so to speak. So we never really stray too far away from that core. Okay. And so I gave y'all the challenge, the ooh challenge, if you want to call it, right? And I said I was going to drop $10 in the Cash App. Nobody took me up on the challenge. I know that's pretty loud, man. That's, everybody's not going to be on that. But I got another $10 in the Cash App. Another $10. We got the chat function. I'm looking at the bottom right of my screen right now. Chat with everyone in the studio. Drop your why or your mission statement in the studio. I would love to see it, right? It could be your personal why, your business or your brand why. It could be your personal mission statement, your brand mission statement. Hey, Leslie Leslie Hudson Gore said, "Come on, warrior spirit." Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing because we are really fighting an uphill battle, right? Like especially as Black brewers, we represent less than 1% of beer brewery owners in the country. There's about 9,200 breweries in the country. There's about 75 of us. So we gotta go hard. We gotta approach this thing as a battle. Not that we're trying to, dominate or conquer anybody, but it's more so a battle with ourselves, right? Not to get too philosophical. So anybody, please, I'm begging you, I got money to give away. I mean, I really don't got money to give away, but I want to give some money away if someone to drop that in there in the chat, right? Your personal why or your mission statement. Because again, you can make the best beer ever. You can make the best beer ever. If you don't have a mission, if you don't have a why, your beer is going to sit on the shelf if it even gets to the shelf. Because the thing that's going to power you forward and, again, separate you from other people is having a why, having a mission, telling your story, right? And that's another thing. So, if you have a great story, but your beer is out of pocket, right? Quality control is not there. It's not well thought out. Then it's going to sit on the shelf as well. Like, you might get people to buy it once, but you won't get repeat customers. So it's got to be really a holistic approach, a full package, what we like to call when we put out beer, an end-to-end consumer experience, right? Look up Steve Jobs. Before Steve Jobs and Apple, you would get your technology, your electronics. It would come in like this plastic. It was like all cumbersome and stuff. Steve Jobs literally studied architecture in Japan to say, this is how I want to present our items to our customers, right? Like, we want it to be a beautiful experience end to end. And we approach our beer at Black Viking in the same exact way. Okay, so even though no one dropped anything in the chat, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it rolling, right? And so let's say you got amazing beer, right? You come up with your mission, you come up with your why, you have an amazing story, right? I told y'all earlier, you have to then go out and tell the story, right? Like, I've talked to some amazingly talented brewers, and I drink their beer, and I'm like, yo, why don't I know more about you? I ask that question a lot. Why don't I know more about you? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know anything about you. Like your social media presence, like I'm not getting your fingerprints on this product, right? Tell me about yourself. And folks would tell me the most like dynamic, amazing stories, how they came to craft beer, how, their grandmother was actually a brewer and it's been passed down in the DNA. And they just got all these great stories. I'm like, what's the problem in telling that though? And most people, a lot of times, they're going to be a little bit timid, right? But that's the thing. Again, like, if you're trying to get consumers to spend their hard-earned money on what you're producing and then to eventually tell a friend, and turn it into that evangelized effect, then you have to be passionate about it, right? Like, one thing you can tell me, you bald, ST, or, your beer's not that good, but you can never question my passion. You can never question my energy. And that is what separates folks every single time. Look, Facebook user said personal mission statement: to always let my reach exceed my grasp, for only then I can live beyond my realized dreams. Clap that up. Dang. That was that's high level right there. To always let my reach exceed my grasp. Oh, it disappeared. Hey, Lennox, can you throw that back up there? Hey, thank you, Lennox. To always let my reach exceed my grasp, for only then can I live beyond my realized dreams. Yo, Facebook user, I can't see exactly who you are. Drop your Cash App in the chat. I got $10 coming for you, right? Like, and it ain't about the money. It's about the energy. It's about really honing this thing, right? So then how do you, with that, dope mission statement, how do you then apply that to your business, right? Because we all are in different, like, craft beer is an industry. The beer game is an industry, right? So you got people, again, who are brewers, who are marketers, who are operators, who are administrators, who are taste, like, pairing experts, right? Shout out to the homie L Sharp that met him last night. He's doing dope things in the beer scene down here in Atlanta, right? Jim Price, everybody. And matter of fact, my fault. Forgive my manners real quick. Shout out to Jim Price. Shout out to my sister Jim Price, who this is her brainchild, Craft Beer Con, Crafted for Action. Jen said, I have a vision that I want to provide value to people in the beer space and get more women and people of color into the space and demystify it and bring them in and let them exercise their talents and their creativity. And Jen, like I told you the other day, a lot of people talk, but you actually put the work in. And I seen her down there, this lady, we finished up stuff 10, 11 o'clock. She breaking out her laptop and getting back to where I said, Lord have mercy. Jen, so I salute you. I'm humbled and honored that you allowed me to be here. Again, forgive my man. I should have said that in the beginning, but I just got to rambling because I was so excited. And so, okay, Facebook user, back to you. How do you implement or incorporate your personal statement into your business? And I don't know what area of the craft beer industry you're in, but I'm asking that as a real question to help you think through that, right? Because that's a great personal mission statement. How do you apply that to your business? Because there has to be a marriage there in order to maximize the synergy and, again, to separate you from the rest of the crowd, right? And so I know some of y'all are saying, ST, we don't all like want to yell and talk like you, right? Some of us just want to brew beer, right? Cool. You don't have to be on social media all the time, right? You don't have to do a IG live show every Thursday like we do Black Viking TV, shameless plug, right? 7 o'clock on Instagram. You don't have to do that, but you do owe it to yourself and the hard work that you've put in to figure out what method works best for you, right? So even though we're talking about storytelling, this could be written, right? This could be you taking a picture of your can of beer and then making sure that you write something out, right? And putting a dope post up, right? This could be you talking about the actual brew process, right? Because there are a lot of people out there that want to know what type of hops went into the boil and what type of yeast you're using. You know, how did you bump the ABV up from 6.5 to 7.1? There are a lot of people that want to know that. How do you get a softer mouthfeel, right? So you have to figure out what works for you and then be consistent. You have to show up on a daily or weekly, or even if it's a bi-weekly or monthly basis, right? Say you got another job, you got kids, whatever it may be. You have to figure out what works for you, and then you have to put that out there, right? Okay, so we got, V Ward, another one. Our mission is simple: love of the craft. We strive to support Black-owned breweries and small breweries by creating a craft beer tasting experience that fosters respect, inclusion, empowerment, and love. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I do what I do. I've never met Vivian a day in my life, but she shows up on Black Viking TV every single week. And so it just, again, it goes back to being in alignment, because now that I'm reading her mission, right? I'm going to read it one more time for the people in the back. Our mission is simple, she said. Love of the craft. We strive to support Black-owned breweries and small breweries by creating a craft beer tasting experience that fosters respect, inclusion, empowerment, and love. How could you not want to be a part of whatever Vivian is doing? That is like so well thought out, and the intentionality behind that is inspirational, right? So shout out, Vivian, shout out to you. Shout out to you for living your truth, for showing up and showing out for folks. So Vivian, drop your Cash App in there. Since nobody did the I could give out one more $10, and the Facebook user ain't throw it in there. Right? So look, y'all leaving money on the table. Like y'all want my money, you just want my beer, you don't want my money, right? So like I love that. I love that level of intentionality. And so we've got like a good beer, we've got a good story. We're gonna tell the story, right? I forgot to mention one thing, and we talk about superpowers, right? Storytelling being the superpowers. What can be your ultimate kryptonite, Achilles heel, whatever you want to call it, is a lack of authenticity. And that's what I was just talking about before, where it's like you have to do what works best for you. You can't try to emulate somebody else. You can't, of course you want to be inspired by other people. I totally get that, right? But you can't try to graft what they're doing onto what you're doing. That doesn't make any sense. It does them a disservice. It does you a disservice, because God only made one of you and one of me, right? And so everything has to come from your why and like authentically. Who are you? That's what people buy into, right? People spend money because you have presented them with a value proposition. And the value proposition a lot of times is not just about what's the best beer. It's saying I value buying into this brand and supporting this person. We are in the age of the most educated, informed consumer in the history of humankind, right? So you can't really like cheat people like that. You might be able to get away with it once or twice, but you can't build real community, right? And build create evangels, right? Evangelicals, right? You can't create evangelicals to talk about your business if you're not being real with them. And that starts also with being real with yourself. Why am I really doing this? Like, it's all one big echo chamber, feedback loop, cycle of greatness, whatever you want to call it, right? Look, Leslie Hudson Gordon said, I cook. Oh, this is Chef. I'm tripping. Chef. Hey, look, Chef. Let me read your mission statement, and we're going to talk about you for a minute, Chef, because you really like, it was like, boom, right? The exploding head emoji, right? When I had some of your cooking. Leslie Hudson Gordon, Chef Leslie, said, I cook and teach young people to develop critical thinking skills through recipe building and production and customer service. Yo, like that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that is a very holistic mission right there, right? And again, Chef's cooking is amazing. Like, she had the sliders, she had the salmon out there, she had like the vegetables, the fruit, like the mustard. Chef, refresh my memory. The mustard that was made with beer in it, that you had, like, you did some chef stuff, some professional stuff, that it was amazing, right? But when I tell you these blondie brownies she made, yo, real talk, I'm almost afraid to admit this on camera. Like, I'm a little ashamed. I might have eaten like 17 of those. I'm not joking. Like, I might have eaten 17. I know they the little joints, but I might have eaten 7. It might have been like 20. I ain't gonna lie. I can't even lie. Real talk. So look, that Chef, that was you early when you said, come on with the warrior spirit, right? So it's no coincidence to me that I'm reading this mission from Chef Gordon, and you like taste her food, and it is amazing. You see her preparation, it is amazing. Every time I'm in Atlanta, I'm gonna reach out to Chef Gordon because I want to eat her food, right? Because the food is amazing, but like her whole energy is just great, and the reason behind what she's doing is great. So we got a great story, we got great beer, we have authenticity, we got consistently putting out content, touching the people, whatever, however you want to call it, right? Because again, you don't have to put out a bunch of content on social media. I highly suggest you do, even if it's not your face in front of the camera. You, again, post pictures of your product or pictures of you with other people, engaging with folks. That people love that type of stuff, right? So we got those things lined up, right? What else is going to tell your story for you? If it's not you, if it's not the people that you're turning into evangelicals, I got the word right that time, right? What else is going to tell your story, right? It's very simple. Your packaging, right? It's got to tell a story, right? Like, I've talked with people in the beer industry, and they're like, yo, this beer is amazing, but the packaging is terrible, right? Or vice versa. This beer is not that good, but the packaging, the marketing, that joint is dope. Like, it got people lined up around the block, right? And so just to do a little case study with our packaging, right? And so you see at the top of the can, if you can see that, cheers to the culture, right? We wanted to use connect the culture, but it was trademarked. And so I told you, we're all about community building, right? So we say, okay, we can't use connect the culture. We're going to use cheers to the culture because we are celebrating our culture, right? And that is a combination of African-American Black culture and Viking culture, right? And so before I break the rest of the can down, we actually sit down with I'm not going to say her name and put her on blast, but we sit down with a lady who has a PhD in Viking archaeology once every 6 to 8 weeks to make sure that we are really honoring the Viking tradition while at the same time building our own unique mythology around the Black Vikings, right? So that's the level of intentionality that we're moving with, right? Because we're world building right now, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. So we sit down with Dr. fill in the blank, right? Shout out to her, because we want to really honor that. So we're talking about stuff that dates back 1,000 years, literally. What type of artifacts were found here? When we come out with new cans with new characters on there, like what should they look like? What would a typical Viking queen look like? Because this is our king, right? And so let's get into it real quick. You got Cheers to the Coast, you got Black Viking. I don't know if I'm doing that right. Black Viking, you got Zinger beer, Ginger Golden Ale, right? It tells you what we are, who we are, right? But then in the middle, that's not just a Viking. That's our king, King Cross, right? Cross with a K. So we got King Cross. He's got the hop leaf beard, right? And we got some coming with that, with the power of hops and all that as we build this world. But then what else do you see around him? 12 stars, right? I think I'm turning out the right. 12 stars. I'm terrible at angling stuff on camera, right? So 12 stars. The 12 stars represent the 12 tenets of the Black Viking. Okay, let me say that again. The 12 stars represent the 12 tenets of the Black Viking. What are the 12 tenets of the Black Viking? I'm glad you asked. Community, courage, discipline, honor, love, loyalty, Mother Earth, passion, perseverance, strength, vision, and wisdom. I'm going to say it one more again because I love that list, right? Community, courage, discipline, honor, love, loyalty, Mother Earth, passion, perseverance, strength, vision, and wisdom. Now you probably like, Sean, why do you have a list of 12 tenets talking about some strength, love, loyalty, Mother Earth, and all that, right? This is where I'm going to bust you in the head, right? Come right back with it. I told y'all from the beginning, we are looking to build community, right? We're not looking to be the hottest brewery, right? We're not looking to come out with 27 beers. There's nothing wrong with that. We are looking to build community and to get our Zinger beer, which is a deliciously drinkable golden ale at 5.5%, into as many hands as possible. So that's our goal, right? That's an extension of our mission. So in order to do that, we have to not only put out a beer that's versatile and affordable, we have to build our company on principles, right? You can't build a company off of fads, right? And trends. If you want to be around for the long haul, right? You can do that for a while, but that's not sustainable. And so we identified that very early. What are some things that we can build our company on, some principles we can build our company on, and also communicate to our Black Viking family? We don't say fans, we got Black Viking family, right? Communicate to them that are universal. Those principles are universal. I don't care if it's 2022 or 3022. Community, courage, passion, all those things are going to be just as relevant in 1,000 years as they are now, as they were 1,000 years ago. And everybody can relate to those things, right? And so, for example, when we talk about community, right, we already said that's like our number one tenet. We're big on that. But then another one of our core tenets is Mother Earth, right? Because we want to be respectful of the earth. And so we try to make sure that we recycling our spent grains, right? We have what's called Black Viking hiking coming up in a few months. Shout out to my man Lou the Nature Plug that's going to lead that for us, right? Because we want to say, you know what? We want to connect with the earth. We want to especially connect Black people to the earth because there's this misconception that Black people don't get into nature, they don't hike and all that. It's like that couldn't be further from the truth. And we want to build community at the same time. So that makes a lot of sense for us to do something like that. We also are going to do a Black Viking 5K at the end of summer when it gets a little bit cooler, right? Because what do we say is one of our tenets? Strength, right? We don't want you drinking 12 Black Viking beers by yourself. We don't want you doing that. We want you taking Zinger beer to the cookout, right? To the wedding, to the birth of a new child, right? And breaking beer with people who you love and care about, right? And building that community, right? We want you to be strong. If you're strong, then you can take care of yourself, your family, your loved ones, right? But if you're drinking too much beer, then you're not going to be able to do that thing. And that's kind of a reminder to myself because I need to probably lose a little bit of weight. I got a little gut on me. I need to get to running with my man Corey Hayes, Soul Brothers, right? We need to go on a jog around Atlanta, right? So beer for us, in our mind's eye, should be a part of a healthy lifestyle, right? It shouldn't be, drink a whole bunch of beer. No, it should be a part of a healthy lifestyle, and especially for our community, the Black community, where beer has been marketed to us in a certain way. We want to say, no, it don't got to be all that. Incorporate this into your lifestyle. Give folks We want to give folks an option, right? And so that kind of dovetails into our larger vision, which is, I told you there's 75 black-owned breweries in the country, right? Not one of them has national distribution, right? And a lot of people say, no, one of them has national distribution, right? So you can't get a black-owned beer in Maine, Maryland, Michigan, and Montana. You can't do that. You can get it in little pockets, right? But you can't get it across the entire 50 states, right? So when they say, well, how come more black people aren't into craft beer? It's like, well, we don't have access to it a lot of times. We're not brought into it. So that is kind of the whole master plan, you know, our why, our mission, our story, what we're looking to do. It all kind of ties in together, right? Nothing should be too far out of your orbit, should be like way too far left. Everything should be tying back to your why and to your story, right? So we 35 minutes in. We had a little bit of commentary. Is there anyone that has any questions that wants to jump on with me and just talk a little bit? Like, Lennox, what you talking about? What they saying out there, Lennox? Can y'all still hear me? Hey, look, I'm about to crack this beer then. Hey, listen, I'm about to get some of this good food from Pascal's and crack this beer. All right. So I'm going to give y'all a couple more minutes to maybe drop your Cash Apps in the chat. You can also message me privately at Black Viking Brewing on Instagram if you're not comfortable dropping your Cash App in the chat, and I'll make sure that you get your money because I'm a man of my word, okay? And so storytelling, your ultimate superpower, right? Now, notice how I said that's your ultimate superpower. It's not your only superpower, and we talked about this before. There are many different facets to this industry, right? Some people are amazing at recipe development. Not necessarily at brewing, maybe they're great at recipe development. Some people are great at customer service. Some people are great at administrative work, such as creating invoices. Skinny, what's going on, Skinny? Hey, say what's up to the people, man. Got my man Skinny from the Nappy Roots, owner in Atlantucky. Y'all come through and get some of this amazing beer and this amazing atmosphere. This is my guy right here, man. Appreciate you, Skinny.
Yeah, man, what's that got going on?
Hey, look, so we're doing our storytelling. This is part of the craft beer con that Jim put together. We're talking about the importance of storytelling. You know about storytelling. This is a multi-platinum artist right here. So he know all of, he got paid a lot of money to tell stories.
What happens on the road stays on the road.
Hey, look, but do you want to tell the folks about, you know, the importance of storytelling and connecting with people?
I would say it's important to tell stories and connect with people. As long as it's the truth, just tell the truth. When you tell a story, make sure it's, you know, interesting. But, you know, tell the truth. I'm out.
All right, Skinny, appreciate you, brother. Yo, hey, look, I couldn't have said it better myself when we talked about authenticity, right? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth to yourself first, then to other people, right? And so, again, I told y'all, man, Skinny is a good dude. This dude got, you know, Grammy nominations, platinum, worked with Kanye and Jazzy Faye and all these people, and just a humble dude making great beer. So every time I'm in Atlanta, I'm hollering at Chef, right? Chef Leslie, and I'm hollering at Atlantucky to get beer in a great atmosphere and just good vibes, man. And so storytelling, not your only superpower, your ultimate superpower, but whatever it is that you're good at, because each of us are good at different things. I'm good at talking and obviously making really loud noises. So that's what I do, right? If you're good with the invoices, you can do the invoice. You can do the administrative work. If you're good with logistics, right? Supply chain, any of these things, because again, this is a big industry, and to build a business, a family, whatever it may be, you have to have a lot of people on the same team, right? But they all got to share that same story and that same mission. Everybody's not going to be as outspoken, right? Which doesn't mean that they're not as passionate, because some people are quietly passionate. They're not as demonstrative, right? But everybody's got to be on the same page. They got to be speaking the same language. They got to be talking about, everyone at Black Viking knows the 12 tenets. That's what we're building our company on. That's part of the reason we're so successful. And so we had almost 140. Like I said, does anyone have any questions I just been running my mouth for a long time, and I could do that forever. Lennox. Okay, hold on. Love, life, and libation. Hey, what's up? That's someone else who taps into Black Viking TV all the time. My documentation and research to improve my palate and homebrewing eventually compelled me to rep the craft culture. I reminisce on early hip hop culture with what's going on now. Just straight love. Yo, that's beautiful right there. That's beautiful. So, look, to improve your palate and homebrewing. So, how has that documentation and research helped you improve your palate? Like, what major breakthroughs have you had? What minor breakthroughs have you had? How has that influenced your homebrewing? And I'm asking you real questions now. Please feel free to drop that in the chat because people need to hear this story, right? It said that you eventually compelled you to rep the craft culture. You reminisce on early hip hop culture and what's going on now. Straight love. I mean, you got the Nappy Roots in there, obviously hip hop icons, and like me and Soul Brothers was talking about that yesterday. Like, this is on some kind of like early hip hop type stuff. Like, we're doing some revolutionary type things, and we're building on the foundation that was put here before. So yeah, I'd love to know how your documentation and research helps you improve your palate and your home brewing. Do you have any favorite recipes that you've home brewed? Any bad recipes that you home brewed? And that's another thing. So we got, for Black Viking, we have another brewer, my man Rusty out of Richmond. I'm gonna throw his name out there. He's gonna be doing some stuff with us soon. But like, I love that he shows his mistakes, right? He'll show the whole process, and it'll be something that didn't necessarily work the way that he wanted it to work. He'll show that on camera, right? He'll chop it up and put it out there. And I've had so many people up and down the East Coast say, man, I look up to Rusty because I love that he shows us the whole process, because none of this stuff is as curated as people try to make it seem. Arturo said, keep it 100. Exactly. Like Skinny just said, keep it 100, right? So, like, none of this stuff is as easy or as beautiful or as neat as people make it seem. Like, a lot of times, a lot of curation, a lot of editing going on, right? Doing this work is hard, right? And of course, it's worth it. And we have great days and we get to make an amazing product and enjoy an amazing product. But it's like, it's hard work. You got to roll your sleeves up. You see all this metal back here, right? Or back here over one of those places, right? Like, getting out and talking to people, doing 3-hour tastings. Like, that's tough when you just stand up the whole time and just telling your story over and over and over again. One more thing I just thought about too. Arturo said, what new beers do you expect to drop in the future? So that's a great question, Arturo. Right now, we're going to continue to pump our Zinga beer, but I told you that this is our king, right? This is King Cross, right? We have a Queen's drink coming out in about 2 months. That's going to be a game changer. And when you see the artwork for her, King Cross, he looks tough. He looks tough. But the Queen, man, you got to follow us on Black Viking Brewing on Instagram to keep up with the updates, because we're going to be dropping some information about that very, very soon. Hey, Troy, ASAP Troy, with 5 Witch Brewing out of, look, I drew a straight blank. Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was about to say Tuskegee, out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. She said, we stand the Queen. Troya, I got this. She was actually on Black Viking TV about 6 weeks ago, maybe about 8 weeks ago now, right? But Troya killed it. I got to finally meet her here at Atlantucky Brewing, and she's dope. She's a dope human being, right? Super cool, great conversation, and she makes great beer. Right? So it's the full package. So it's like, yo, if I'm ever in Tennessee, or if I know people who are in Tennessee, I'm going to be like, yo, pull up the 5 Wits, because my homegirl Troya, she's a dope person and she makes dope beer. And she's very passionate about her craft. She's not loud like me, but she's very passionate about her craft, right? So I love it. Troya, we stand the Queen. I stand the Queen too. And I've said for a while now, Zinga beer is doing well for us, and it's going to continue to do well for us. The Queen, though, she gonna put the king to shame. She gonna put because we got a whole marketing concept. I got a whole marketing concept for this, packaging, everything, like the continuity with this thing is about to be ugly. And shout out to my man Arden Ale out of the DMV. He's a dope graphic designer. He's the one that's gonna do our new packaging. We're revamping this packaging to implement a few more things, and to implement some continuity. I ain't gonna say too much more because somebody might try to steal my idea. But even if you did steal the idea, right? You can't replicate my what? My story. You can't replicate my company's mission, right? And you can't represent the dog. Replicate the dog, right? Like, there's a lot of dogs out there. I'm a dog. I'm coming for it all the time. Look, my laptop acting like it's gonna die. I still got 15 minutes in here though. We got enough juice. And so, yes, the last thing that I remember to say, I'm sorry I've been jumping all over the place. Look, Jim was like, you need to put together a PowerPoint that's got some pictures and all that. And I was like, all right, yeah, bet. That's what I'm going to do. Then I realized I hate PowerPoints. I never use PowerPoints, right? I just be talking. And when you're doing your storytelling, when you're out there doing your thing, you're not going to have the benefit to lean on the PowerPoint because your story needs to be coming from where your core, your why, all that, right? But you need to have that thing. It needs to be ingrained into your DNA, right? I was talking with my man Isaiah from Our Culture Brewing the other day, and he was talking about granular details, right? I said, nah, bro, we go cellular. Cellular. That's the level of intentionality that we move with, because when you move on a cellular level, then it becomes a part of your DNA for not only yourself, but for your company, and that turns into ethos. Ethos, that's the spirit of your company, and that's what we're rocking with. So, I keep going back and forth, but the last thing I meant to say is Crafted for Action. Do you have any tips to incorporate story content into your calendar? Oh, that's from Linux. Okay, so that's a great question. Do you have any tips to incorporate story content into your calendar? And so there's some apps out there. I don't use them, but I guess they help people kind of like not pre-record, but it sets you up on a schedule so that your content can be released every Thursday, every Tuesday, whatever it may be, right? And to be very honest, right? Like Skinny just said, being honest, I am very comfortable setting up a camera and just talking, just going, right? And so on Black Viking TV, we bring in guests. Of course, I do my research, so I have some interesting questions to ask them, and it's a good time. And we drink good beer. We talk about the beer. We talk about each person's story, right? Where I need to personally get better is utilizing tools like that, right? Because our social media, we have almost 2,000 followers. We could have way more followers than that if we were utilizing tools like that. So that's a great question, Linux. And that's why we're about to hire a social media manager, because I've been doing this on my own, right? And it's working, but it ain't working to optimal capacity. And that's ultimately the goal, right? And so, that goes back to the teamwork aspect as well. Knowing where you're strong, knowing where you're weak, and then bringing in people to, help where you're weak or do jobs where you're not the strongest at, and vice versa. And so the last thing I was going to say, right? Know your audience. Know your audience. I know the audience for Crafted for Action. I have a pretty good feel for them. So I was able to start off with the Nappy Roots, right? And singing the, oh no, hell no, man. Y'all done up and down. I was able to do that, right? Now, if I'm doing a tasting event in Tyson's Corner, Virginia at the Tower Club, shout out to my man Frank, who's the executive chef there, but I've got on my suit, right? And I've got my little golden name placard type thing, right? And everything, everyone's suited and booted. I'm probably not going to start singing the Nappy Roots, right? I'm not going to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, maybe, but I'm not going to do that. If you want to do that, go for it. But I'm still going to tell my same story. It's just going to be delivered a different way. That's the number one rule of public speaking. Know your audience anyways. So that's just a little pro tip. Know who you're talking to. Know what environment you're going into, right? And if you do these things, you're going to mess up along the way. You're going to be uncomfortable if you're just getting started, right? But if you do these things and you do them consistently, right? You identify your why. Start with that. What is your why? You identify your mission, right? For yourself, your personal mission, then the mission for your company. And then you let everything emanate from that, and you consistently put the work in, consistently put out good content, consistently tell your story, consistently put out good beer, you're going to win. You're going to win. So look, Chef said, do you have steps to building a good story? I think, kind of like I said, start with your why first, right? Start with your why, and then not to sound like all, philosophic, but Go to what makes you you, right? What is unique about you? And we talked about that. Like everybody has superpowers, right? It's not storytelling is the ultimate superpower. It's not your only superpower, right? So you may be thinking like, why am I so crazy, right? Why is this guy crazy? Why is he yelling? Why is he just, why is he so obsessed with building community, right? Like when I was 11, 12 years old, I was raised by a single handicapped mom. When I was 11, 12 years old, my mom called me in the room. She said, yo, you was adopted, right? And my mom was bawling, crying, right? So, and she wasn't even a big crier like that, but she was crying. She said, you were adopted, I love you so much. If you want to call me by my first name instead of mama. And I looked at her, I said, what? No, like, what are we talking about? No, you're my mother. You're my mother. Like, I just now, not to get like go off on a tangent, but just to tell you some of my story of who I really am. Like, I just got my birth certificate like not that long ago, and my birth certificate said male Dingle, right? First name male, last name Dingle. I'm like, dang, no disrespect to anybody last name Dingle, but male Dingle, that's a pretty bad name, right? I like Sean Taylor a lot better, right? So I just now was able to get my birth certificate. I had to go through a whole bunch of stuff to get my name legally changed, go through the court process, pay money. I just got that process figured out like 6 months ago to the point where I was just able to apply for a passport, right? And so I don't know if it's because I was the only child or, like feeling like, oh yeah, I was adopted, whatever. There's some Freudian stuff going on, but I've always been passionate about building community, right? And I'm so extra hyped because I'm naturally like that. My mother was like that, and I say was because in 2000, January 10th, 2000, my mom passed away from a massive heart attack, like a couple hours after I just talked to her. You know what I'm saying? I'm a freshman in college playing ball and all that, and 3 o'clock in the morning, I talked to my mom like 11 and 12 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning, my coach is in my room telling me your mom died from a massive heart attack. I'm crushed. Of course, I was crushed. Went home, I had to really take a big step and leap in helping to plan the funeral because my grandmother and my grandfather, they couldn't even really speak like that. You know what I'm saying? But we was forcing that a lot of people rallied around us and helped us through that process. And I was like, I'm not going back to college. I was only 17, so I'm not going back to college. I'm about to work. I'm about to just cry. I don't know what I'm about to do. And my homeboys was like, bro, what? Like, you're going back to college. I'm like, nah, I'm not. They're like, yes, you are. You got a full scholarship to play basketball, and you about to not do it because your mom died? Like, we know, like, we hurt too, you know what I'm saying? But this was her whole goal, was to get you into college, and you did that. Now it's time to finish the job. And 3 years later, honorable mention, like, not honorable mention, all conference, all that, couple of championships later, and a degree later, I walked across the stage, I got my degree, right? 2 weeks after my 21st birthday. So that to me is why, like, I've seen life and I've seen death, and I choose life, right? Because this thing is precious. Like, I'm on fire right now, right? I'm on fire. I love dealing with people. I love how, like, again, beer brings people together. My mom was a beer drinker. So I think about that too. Like, yo, like, this is crazy. My mom was drinking beer. She was drinking, Corona and not OE, but the Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl and all that. And I wasn't drinking beer at that time because I was a kid. And I mean, quiet as kept, I taste some beer. I was like, this is disgusting. But I'm like, now look at me, mom. Like, I got my own beer. This is great. So we're going to continue to build. And I'm passionate about building with my people and bringing more people that look like me, more women, more people of color in general into this space, because it's a very dynamic space. It's creative. It's filled with a lot of love, a lot of good energy, and of course, a lot of good beer. And so I don't know if I answer your question all the way, Chef. How do you build a good story? Start with your why. Start with what makes you, you, and then be unapologetic about it. That's really what it comes down to, those three things. And it's not as hard as you may think. When will we be able to get Black Viking delivered? That's from Love Life and Libations. Hopefully by the end of the year. And we flirted with putting our beer on some of these websites like Craft Beer Kings. But I just don't know how I feel about having folks pay that much for our beer, if that makes sense, right? Because I've been on the websites, and this is no knock to them or anyone that uses them for, to put their beer on there. I just don't know how I feel about that at this time, right? because I want folks to be able to go into the bottle shop or the grocery store if you're outside of Maryland, because in Maryland you can't sell beer in the grocery store, and pay $12.99, $13.99 at most for a 6-pack. I don't want you paying $5 for one of my cans of beer. That's just me. So hopefully by the end of the year, Love, Life, and Libations, as we march towards becoming the country's first Black-owned, nationally distributed beer, we'll be able to hit that benchmark. And so, yeah, start with your why. Figure out what makes you you. Be authentic about it and tell everybody. That's really what it comes down to. It's not that difficult. You may not be comfortable doing it now, but I promise you, get started. Get started today, right? If this is what you want to do. If you want to make good beer for yourself strictly, cool. You don't have to ever tell your story. Just make dope beer. And I know plenty of people like that. But if you are trying to build a business, a brand, your influence in this space, you got to get out there, talk to people, tell your story, and just do it over and over and over again. If y'all can't tell, I've done this a million times. I've been public speaking since I was 5 years old. My mom and grandma was like, you talk too much in church, boy. And they kept smacking me in the back of the head when I had hair, and I kept talking. So they was like, if you like talking, we're going to make you talk for God. So they had me doing a welcome address in front of like our congregation of 500 people. Couldn't have no notes. I had to memorize it. And I've been doing it ever since. 35 years later, I'm still running my mouth, right? And so that's it. That's all I got. Look, I throw my paper up in the air. Sean Taylor, co-founder, co-owner of Black Viking Brewing, chief visionary officer of Black Viking Brewing out of Montgomery County, Maryland. This has been great for me. I hope that at least one person has gotten something out of this. Every time I do a public presentation, I do 10 push-ups. I say a quick prayer to God, say, God, please let me be a blessing to at least one person. I hope someone has been blessed. If there are no more questions, Lennox, you see any more questions you want to jump on? Take yourself off mute real quick and let me know what's going on because I can't see anything. It's kind of weird. I'm just like talking at this laptop. All right. Nothing else. Hey, listen, follow us on Instagram at Black Viking Brewing. If you're in Atlanta, around Atlanta, in Georgia, period, please stop by Atlantucky Brewing.
Yo, can you hear me?
Lennox, what's going on?
My bad, Sean. I was trying to. I was listening into another joint, and I didn't want to unmute and have like another audio come in from another session that I was.
Okay, you good, bro?
Yeah,
hey, yo,
this fantastic
high gravity hip hop.
Yes, sir. High gravity hip hop here at your service. You know what I'm saying, man, in the boards, as we say, and all that. So fantastic show, man. Incredible points on the storytelling. It's absolutely critical. You know, as a MC and, you know, someone that conveys the stories of different breweries through, you know, music and whatnot. Obviously, you know, the way you formulate and put together from either your elevator speech to even, you know, how you might flirt with somebody at an outing or something. You know what I mean? The way you formulate your language is so critical. I'm a big fan of words. So everything you said was like right on, you know what I'm saying? And just like textbook in the modern way of, you know what I'm saying, delivering your message. So kudos to you, man. Fantastic job.
Lennox, I really appreciate that, bro. I really do. And real quick, so we talk about, like, you know, the PowerPoint stuff earlier. I said I don't do the PowerPoint. The oral tradition is powerful. It's powerful, right?
Absolutely.
Writing was only invented about 5,500 years ago in Mesopotamia, right? The cuneiform, they used the pictures and all that, right? And I say only 5,500 years ago loosely, right? Beer was invented even before that. And before that, it was people, and what was they doing? Talking, right?
In the beginning, there was the word, you know what I mean?
Right.
The word always came first.
Fortune 500 company want? Word of mouth. That's what all of them want, right? That's
Absolutely.
Why they spend millions of dollars to pay celebrities and entertainers to endorse their product to create a word of mouth feel. So tell your story, please. The world needs it. I want to hear it, and that's the only way you're gonna sell your beer. Straight up.
Absolutely, man. So how long you in town, man?
I'm in town until tomorrow morning. I'll take the red eye out take the red eye out Saturday morning.
Okay, so you around tonight for the Beats and Brews?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Yo, I'll see you out there tonight. Everybody listening, if you in town, hit up the event this evening, the in-person joint. It's been nothing but beautiful fellowship and just love, man. I know you commented on that earlier as we close out, man. Just the love and the community, it has been incredible, and the growth, and to see all the new faces that are jumping in and picking up, you know what I'm saying, picking up a tool and getting to work, you know what I'm saying, flexing their skills. So thank you so much, Sean. I'll let you have the last word and close us out, man.
Like they said, at Nantucket tonight, Beats and Brews. Lennox, what time is it again? I'm sorry. Do you remember what
I want to say it's 8. Let me triple check.
Yeah.
The event is from 8 to 10. 8 to 10.
I'm standing around the corner from here. 8 to 10 at Nantucket Brewing, which is 170 North Side Drive. Am I right on the address?
Yeah,
I think
y'all
that's
GPS
right.
that. If you could watch this, I know you drop that in the GPS. Come down by the AUC. It's right near Morehouse, Spelman Clark. You know what I'm saying? It's right in the middle of downtown, down from the stadium. You know what I mean? It's a fantastic location. It's incredible. So y'all come on down.
Absolutely. And with that, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for dealing with my big mouth and my bald head. And just tell your story. Like I said, we need to hear it. The world needs it. If you want to be successful out here in the beer game or whatever it is, you got to tell your story. Your product that you work so hard to put together, you owe it to that product and to all that hard work. And lastly, again, shout out to Lennox, because we talk about the teamwork, right? Lennox is working to help build this thing. He's given up his own time and talents. I would not have been able to do this without him. I'm deeply appreciative for you, Lennox, and I hope y'all have a blessed rest of the day, and then I see you at the Beats and Brews joint tonight, 8 o'clock at Nantucket. Let's go.
Sean, hang out. I'm going to talk to you behind the scenes. We're going to close out. Peace.
Peace.